Welcome to the parent workshop, Writing in the Foundation Stage by Victoria Welch, our Literacy and Communication Lead in the Foundation Stage.
So what is phonics and why is it important? So phonics is a method of teaching children how to read and write. Phonics provides children with the skills to enable them to read and write. Through teaching phonics, it provides the children with the skills to hear, identify and recognise sounds. It is fundamental at this stage of your child's development. It enables children to decode words, aids in their development of word recognition, and it's important that it is taught every day and consistently. Now in FS1, this is something that the teachers do all the time, but it's not always with letters, it's through environmental sounds and focuses very much on listening skills. They'll also be talking about rhyme and alliteration to prepare them for blending when they move into FS2. Phonics will be taught as discrete lessons in FS1 after term 2, and in FS2 we teach it start teaching from the October half term, and it is taught every day with 2 new letter sounds learned a week, and the 5th day being a day of recap of those sounds. So here are the different stages of writing. As you can see, we believe there are 9 different stages of writing. Children move through quite a few phases of writing during the course of their early years. Learning to write has a lot involved, as the process is both physically challenging, which involves using the correct grip, so the tripod grip, fine motor development and strength to make marks, and mentally, such as conveying an idea and making marks on a page that you are thinking of in your mind. As adults, we can often forget this tricky process and take our writing skills for granted. Here you will find some of the early stages of writing skills. And by the end of FS1, we would hope that the children would be around stage 4 or 5. So marks making that look a lot like letter shapes. Maybe they can write some of the letters from their name but struggle to form others. Or they might write down some letters of their name because they're used to them, and then write down other letters, try and form them into a string, but there is no sort of structure to that, and they're not phonetically decodable as long as they're able to identify the marks that they've made. And then by the end of FS2, we would hope that the children would be sort of stage 9, especially because phonics is taught every day, and also we use egg words, and once the children are able to read all of the egg words, we encourage the children to learn how to write them so that they can not only identify them in books but also apply them when they are writing words and sentences. So here are some examples of writing, or more so mark making, in FS1. As you can see from the first picture, there is a child that has written their name on the different squares and put them together to form a rocket ship. The letters are clearly identifiable, and although they're not formed correctly, it's a good basis, and the child is able to remember the letters and have a really good go at forming them and sticking them in the right order. I've also included 2 examples of a My Family piece from 2 children in the FS1 department. My Family is something that we do across the foundation stage, and although the expectations are different, the one thing that remains the same is that this is done completely independently, and then for the children to be able to identify what they've drawn, or maybe form some letters, as I can see from one of the pictures. The teacher then describes what that child has done. The main part is for them to have done it independently, to apply new skills taught, and to also identify what they have either written or drawn. There is also a message here, some stick letters as a message back to Bigu the alien. So I love you, have a nice day. And as you can see, that child is around from the previous slide, a stage 4 where they've tried to form some letters correctly, and they've made them into sort of stick shapes, but as long as they're able to identify what they've written, this is something that we use and build upon to encourage the children to form the letters correctly, to put them in the right order, and segment and blend the different sounds to become more independent and confident writers. Here are some examples of writing in FS2. So as you can see, the two little girls have been writing party invitations. They've used their phonics to spell out magenta class. They've included a date and can you come, which they've written from the use of phonics, and also included some egg words which are on display around the different areas of our school and in our classrooms to support the children when they are choosing to write independently. Here is an example of my family piece in FS2. As you can see, it's slightly different from the one in FS1. There is a smaller box because the children should have more control of their pencil at this stage and be able to control the size of their drawings and letters. And we've also included some lines to encourage the children to not only draw their pictures of their families, but also write about them. As you can see, this child has already been able to write mum and dad independently and has also used their phonics to segment and write the sounds in happy and family, nanny and sister, and they've been able to write their name independently. I've also included a picture of some CBC writing. This is something that we do every day, whether it's in our phonics lessons or during our intervention time, where we sit with the children and segment the sounds in words and encourage the children to hear the sounds and write them down to support them when they are writing, encourage them to be more confident and independent with their writing skills. In FS2, to encourage the children to be independent and both self and sometimes peer assess their work, we give the children visual targets. We find that while the children are still learning to read and write, there is no point for the teachers to spend lots of time writing reams and reams of feedback for the children who are unable to read it independently. So we do it through the use of visual targets so the children are aware of what they need to include in their sentences. So as you can see with this visual targets that are included at the top, finger spaces, full stops, sitting your letters on the line, sounding out your spellings, the use of digraphs and trigraphs, use of egg words, and the challenge to include the word because. Not all of these words have to be spelt correctly, but as long as the child is able to identify them in their work, we give them a green and pink pen. Green is good, so they identify all the things that they've done and can show you in their work. They can highlight the visual target green, and think pink, some things that they found tricky or they've forgotten, they will highlight pink. I've also included some examples of the children and their marking of their work. As you can see, their visual targets are differentiated as per the child's ability. The expectation is also slightly different because there is more lines included on one page than the other. And as you can see, the child on the right has got all of her visual targets correct, so everything is highlighted in green. However, the child on the left has struggled with some of their letter formation, so that's something that they'll work on in class with their teacher through interventions. We also at the bottom include whether they've worked with a teacher, a TA or independently, just to make sure that we as teachers make sure we can track the children and their progress to work out if any extra interventions or support is needed in class. I've also included a video. As you can see, this little girl is marking her work independently, is able to identify all the visual targets, understand what they mean, and reflect on her work independently.
Can you go through your visual targets for me, please?
Yeah. Finger space, yes. Full stop, yes. Let's see. Letters on the line, sound out, digraphs, egg words.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the green and the pink pen now, and you can mark your own work, Vedika. So remember, green is good.
Green is good
And pink if you need to, if maybe you might need some more help next time. So where are your, what's the first one, Vedika? Finger spaces?
Finger space, full stop.
Where's your full stop, Vedika?
Over here.
Where is it?
Over here on the end.
At
the end of the
sentence.
good girl, okay.
Letters on the line, sound out the words, digraphs, and egg words.
Well done. And you've met the learning objective. Good girl,
I put it all
Jessica.
green.
Perfect. I'll give you a dojo.
I wanted to include some expectations of writing in FS1 and FS2 so you can really see the different expectations between the two different year groups. So in FS1, to recognise and form letters of their own name, to recognise at least 10 phonemes or single letter sounds and be able to write some of them, to have chosen a dominant hand and no longer use whole hand grasp, to give meaning to their marks and be able to talk about their creations, to form recognisable shapes or letters when drawing and writing, e.g. a circle for the head. In FS2, to recognise and write own name independently, to follow the read-writing ditties and be able to form all alphabet letters correctly, not just the ones in their name, to be able to use the tripod grip whilst holding a pencil, and to be able to form recognisable letters when writing words or phonetically plausible sentences and be able to identify and talk about what they have written. Segmenting. Segmenting is the ability to break up spoken words into their separate sounds. For example, as we spell the word fish, we segment it into 3 sounds. Fish, fish, also known as phonemes. As children learn phonics, they begin to connect these phonemes with their visual representation, the alphabetic code. I've included a video of my fantastic teaching assistant, Miss Baby Jane, segmenting with 2 children from our class, using her thread fingers to break up the different sounds to allow the children to hear the sounds, identify how many sounds are in the words, and encourage the children to write down the sounds they can hear to become more confident when reading and writing.
Thread finger, that's right. So thread finger, it helps us to blend and write some words. Right then, so you ready? B.
Pen. Pen.
Ben, good boy. So remember to use your thread finger. Good boy, Jai. Your turn, Ryan. Good boy, write it down. Good boy. So let's try it again. So b, that's a p. B, So look at the first sound. Is it a b or is it a d? Good boy. Well done, Ryan. What do we need to change in here? B, E. Do we need to change the middle sound? Let's see. Is it a E or is it a t? Good boy, Jad.
Words are egg words, as well as having certain words that can be sounded out and read phonetically, e.g. at, mat. There are also certain words that are words that cannot be sounded out or blended. In the read-writing scheme, these are called red words. However, in FS, we refer to them as egg words for no other reason than they are written on eggs. A red word is a word that you cannot sound out phonetically. For example, go, my, all, etc. The children may need adult help to understand that in red words, some of the letters make a different sound to what we would expect. Egg words are only started in FS2, and we usually start them after the October half term. And they follow on to year 1, where they move from egg words and they are known as red words. So writing doesn't have to be boring, it's also not limited to paper. Have a look at these pictures and give some of these ideas a go at home. Could you give your child a tray full with salt or glitter and ask them to practice forming the letters in the tray? Could they have a big chalk and write on the tiles inside or outside? Could they have a wet paintbrush and write on the walls outside or on the tiles? Could they have Duplo or Lego bricks with egg words written on them to help them remember the words and encourage the children to build their own sentences and then write them underneath? Have they got magnetic letters at home where they can practice building egg words or CVC words at home? Could you challenge your children to make a sentence of their own using magnetic letters? I've also included a Doorway Online link for you to have a look at home for letter formation, which can be accessed from an iPad or a laptop. Thank you so much for attending the workshop today. I really hope you found it useful. If you have any questions and need some answers, then please feel free to contact me on the email address provided below.